the next step is, well, in order for us to protect your privacy, we have to do everything ourselves. This is a shot towards the antitrust lawsuit that is coming. Because what they're going to say is, well, the reason that we had to clamp down on everyone and bring everything in-house is not to be a monopoly, it's to protect everyone's privacy. Because if we allow these companies free reign on iOS, then we as Apple, the great purveyor of privacy who allows the Chinese government to listen in on everyone's messages and calls because we want to do business in China, but the company that cares about people's privacy, we have to bring everything in-house. We're not doing it to be a monopoly.
They're letting China listen in on calls?
Stop it.
What are we saying now?
You think the Chinese...
You mean in China. You mean in China.
Right. You think anything goes on an Apple phone that the Chinese military is not listening to?
But are we getting into like conspiracy stuff now, or is this like an announcement somewhere? China's listening to everything going on iPhones across America.
No, it's just in China, he's saying.
Sorry, I'm getting off the track.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that one key. I'm like,
China doesn't allow anyone to operate in China unless they have oversight.
Well, yeah, that's part of the deal. I completely...
Okay, so then Apple doesn't care about privacy. So they care about the privacy for 330 Americans, but they don't give a shit about the privacy for 1 billion Chinese.
All right, so this is actually the week where the new iOS came out, and Apple has been threatening to do this for years. But basically, Apple have put in an operating system level control on what apps share what data. So you're going to be fully transparent with what data is being shared, and you have to opt in to sharing that data. Now, obviously, this affects everybody, but Facebook in particular, that's their entire business model, right? And Zuckerberg is not happy about it. So, Sean, you and I have been speaking about the whole Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Google thing for quite some time. I'm just interested in what you guys think about this latest development and where you think it goes from here.
Okay, so we're going to keep it shorter. We're going to keep it sort of just to Apple and Facebook because this is a much bigger
let's start with Apple and Facebook, see where we get to.
Yeah, listen, do we believe that Apple truly cares about your privacy? Like, do we believe that, or do we believe that they're using the public's affinity for the illusion of privacy to drive their business model and to, at the end of the day, long tail create more profit and more market share for them?
Apple cares about the user's privacy in as much as a company can care about users' privacy. So they've got a proven track record of caring about this kind of stuff, but it's all just a market. It's just a response to the market. They're a company at the end of the day, and as soon as Jobs left, I think any of their real philosophy kind of died with him. You only have to see how they charge any of their devices to realize that Steve Jobs is dead. So yeah, I think it's just response to the market. This is the way the wind's blowing.
But when you say it's a response to the market, are you saying that Apple cares about privacy because that's what the public thinks they want?
Yeah, they're a company. They want Facebook out of there, no doubt. I honestly don't think they like the way Facebook operates as well. The public don't either, but I don't know. It's very different to the way Apple operates. So I think it's a bit of both. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about money and it's all about destroying the opposition.
Is this going to drive people away from Apple devices a little bit, or do people not care and they're gonna stay with it?
I think Facebook is to the public in its original. It is definitely changed Facebook. I think Facebook is dying faster than Apple is. But
because on Android, it's still collecting the same data, right? So does that mean they're going to double down on that? What if they removed Facebook from Apple devices?
They won't do that, surely.
You're going to turn this into an hour-long conversation. Let's just, so what are they doing? They're basically saying you can't track people across their iOS experience. which from a market standpoint, why should Facebook have the right to track people across Apple's marketplace anyway? Like this is just, to me, Apple asserting their marketplace dominance. Facebook is a passenger on Apple's train. So if you don't like the way the train's being run, then get off the train, build your own train. This is the same thing as Epic, except in a larger scale with a bigger company. But Apple's whacking Facebook the same way they whack every company that wants a free ride on their marketplace. Hey, we don't want you tracking. You can still track within the Facebook app. So as long as people are on the Facebook, in the Facebook ecosystem, Facebook can do whatever they want. It's not like Apple's telling them you can't track people within your own ecosystem if you're on iOS. All they're saying is you can't track people across the iOS spectrum from companies that don't, or other apps or other areas that you guys don't own, because you're a guest on our platform.
It is their train. It's like the Snowpiercer train, and Facebook is going to get killed. They're going to get their hand chopped off.
They are. They absolutely. That's a great analogy. They absolutely are. And yeah, and this goes into, there's more players here when you factor Google and Amazon into this, because I think Google is a huge player in this deal from a view of like 30,000 feet, but that's a longer conversation that we'll get into. But yeah, Facebook doesn't like it. Hey, keep people on your platform longer. Like
yeah, this isn't really a surprise to us, is it? Because Apple sells devices and they don't make their bread and butter on data, how Facebook is. So it's not really a shock to anybody. If Apple's whole business was data, maybe things would be different. But
their business isn't that. Yeah. And
I kind of get it. I mean, yeah, it's just big companies being big companies. Like, what else is there to be?
It's not right now, but down the road, as they get away from devices and more into streaming and more into providing services, the data becomes more important to them. Does it not?
It does. Do you think the government's going to step in at some point, the way they did with the Epic Games lawsuit?
So the government is the 600-pound gorilla in this conversation, and it's a longer conversation. When I think about this, it's hilarious to me, because I look at it from like a political standpoint, and what is the government going to take, and trying to predict what the government's going to do. And I almost have like this cartoon in my head where all the tech companies decided, hey, we're going to take on the government together. We're all in it together. We're all in the same thing. We're all choosing one side of the aisle. We're all going to be super pro Democratic Party left, donate to all those causes, and we're going to censor things on the right that we don't like. We're going to choose a side in this fight. And then Facebook's left out in the cold, basically, abandoned by the other tech companies, being like, hey, wait a minute, I thought we were all sort of in this thing together. And
that's an interesting way to put it.
Facebook doesn't have a friend in the world. Like the other tech companies hate them. 150% of the government hates them. Like Facebook they're alone in the wilderness, and they did it to themselves.
That's true. People have really turned on Facebook. They're like the one kid in the playground right now. That's just, nobody likes them at this point.
No one likes them.
I don't know. I don't like, just baby boomers on Facebook, I guess. I don't know anyone that's still
It's baby boomers and businesses. People use it. People use it because they have to use it for work.
I'm excluding Instagram out of this. I know it's part of Facebook, so I'm just for now excluding it because there are people still like it. But Facebook itself, I don't think you can exclude.
I don't think you can exclude Instagram from this conversation, though.
Well, then if you include it, I guess it's like technically still alive. It's like lumbering about. It's not fully dead if you include Instagram.
Their users are increasing.
Yeah, WhatsApp is also part of this ecosystem. Yeah, let's not forget.
Their users increased last quarter and the quarter before and the quarter before that.
Instagram?
The Facebook ecosystem as a whole.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. They are. I guess they are growing in other parts of the world, but in North America, they've been slowly declining, not drastically.
Right.
But yeah, they're expanding in places like India. And,
well, in the third world, Kev, my buddy in the Philippines, for a lot of people, because they get these deals with the telecom providers over there, where you basically get free Facebook on your phone. So no matter what, no matter what network you're on, no matter what, whether you're on pay as you go, pay monthly, whatever, you could be on $1 a month or $200 a month. You get free Facebook on.
It's just like unlimited Facebook, like unlimited
Facebook,
data.
Yeah. So as long as it goes through the Facebook app, so that encourages people to that. For a lot of people in developing countries, the internet is Facebook. It's like AOL.
It pretty much is. Yeah, it's like a closed ecosystem. Yeah. There's marketplace. There's everything, events on there.
Who needs a web page? You can just go to somebody's.
Yeah, it's like what WeChat is in China. It's an all-in-one place.
They're trying to dominate the market just as much as any other fun game. I'd argue more. So they can cry me a river when it comes to the whole Apple thing and Apple saying, hey, you can choose if you want to share your data or not. Apple are in the business of providing awesome top-notch hardware, and I want complete control over that hardware. Like, I don't see any ads on my laptop ever. Like, never see an ad. If I see an ad, I'm going to throw my laptop out the window. I want the same thing on my phone.
You don't want to get one of those Samsung TVs where an ad comes up like every few minutes.
You're also forgetting something, though. Like, when Zuckerberg says that Facebook ads are the greatest equalizer for the small business, he's not lying.
No, he's not. He's right.
Okay, so Facebook ads and Instagram ads are one of the absolutely greatest builders of small business against large corporate multinational corporations that has ever existed. So when everyone's like, well, Facebook is fucking everyone. Well, not really.
No.
Like, try building a small business and trying to outbid on Google AdWords, trying to outbid, Pepsi for AdWords. You can't do it. Google has become television. Like, You can't compete. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, the user gets to decide what they want. Like, we all have this conversation all the time. And Massey, if you see an ad twice that you don't like, Facebook's not going to show it to you again.
Right.
So, like, there's this idea that they're screwing everyone with the ads. Like, I don't
think that's the idea. I think that I could see why people would think that that's the idea, but look, you just said it yourself. You get to see the ads because of choice, right? So choice is a good thing, right? This is what we want. We want people to pick the things they want. This is how the world works best. Give everyone what they want. Let's all voluntarily choose things. Then I should also be able to choose how much data I want to share and whether I want these creepy fucking ads that I've looked at something on one web page and all of a sudden I start getting a million ads for it. I realize how the internet works. I know that they've got that data, whether they show it to me or not, but I don't want to be reminded of it constantly. I want to be blissfully ignorant of that stuff. And this is just one side of the market coming to equalize something which has grown a little bit out of control. I think Facebook, ads are brilliant. The whole thing generally is a net good, probably, but it needs a bit of pushback on the other side. And I think Apple are doing the right thing here. I think that most people will just keep the ads switched on.
They won't. They absolutely won't.
You think they'll leave it on?
Absolutely not.
I think most people
will turn it off.
Maybe they'll turn it off. Again, Facebook needs to sweeten the deal somehow. They need to make it. They need more of an incentive for people to leave it on. This will improve the ad system overall. This isn't going to kill it.
This is where you get into the government. This is where it's hilarious that Facebook burned all their bridges in the government.
Right. Exactly.
Because Apple knows that Facebook doesn't have a friend in the world. Because the rebuttal would be the rebuttal to Apple would be, well, wait a minute. When people sign up for Facebook, we tell them, if you want to sign up, we're going to track you. They don't have to sign up. Tim Cook is saying, hey, the public is so stupid that we have to police them like they're 8 years old at every turn. Facebook tells them, when you sign up for Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, we're going to track you. And billions of people sign up anyway.
Yeah, but that's a bit disingenuous, right?
How is it disingenuous?
Because it's
if you want to use our service, how is it disingenuous? If you want to use our
use the service without ads, that's it. Facebook, they're going to let people use it without ads.
Hold on a second. That's the Massey third option that you want. You're being provided a free service. The customer doesn't get to decide the conditions for the service. Don't sign up. So
the
Tim
customer
Cook
does
is
get
saying,
to design that. I get to choose what I wear when I walk into a store, right?
You do not.
I do.
You don't. I
can't walk in naked to an Apple, so this is a bad analogy. My point is,
it's not a bad analogy at all. Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook.
Okay, so if you're on Facebook, when you're in the Facebook ecosystem, they're tracking you.
Yeah.
You have no choice about that. Zero.
Right. Yeah, because I'm using their app. They have to serve me pages, and the way they serve me pages is by know what I'm doing.
Wonder if Facebook's going to try to punish people that decline the tracking option.
That's what I'm interested in.
It's going to know, and they go, okay, you're not going to see all the cool cat videos then. You're only going to see it as part of Facebook. I wonder how they're going to deal with that.
You can't use video call. Sorry, it's not allowed.
Yeah, sorry.
And we're gonna transmit your dick pics to everybody.
We're going to delete half your friends. I mean,
this is like the first shot in a war that's going to last for 30 years. I think it's awesome.
Man.
Like I love watching it. And listen, Apple's the bully in the schoolyard right now. Like, and it's aside from Amazon sitting off to the side, being like, "Hey, all you guys are beneath us right now." But right now, Apple can, and Apple and Google have a very symbiotic relationship. So I feel like they're like allies, but not really, which is a very interesting. Yeah, and Google, listen. Google's elated that Facebook's getting kicked in the teeth. Elated because it just increases the price of Google AdWords. It increases the price of their ad model, and it's hilarious how Apple's not stopping Google from tracking anyone across the iOS world.
So what prompted all this? Did Facebook do a transgression against Apple to kick all of this off?
I think Massey's right, and Apple is staking out territory and saying, hey, we're going to be the privacy guys. We're going to be the privacy company. We're the company that Yeah, we're the company that cares about your privacy.
Well, that's nice.
And it is, except the next step is, well, in order for us to protect your privacy, we have to do everything ourselves. This is a shot towards the antitrust lawsuit that is coming. Because what they're going to say is, well, the reason that we had to clamp down on everyone and bring everything in-house is not to be a monopoly, it's to protect everyone's privacy. Because if we allow these companies free reign on iOS, then we as Apple, the great purveyor of privacy who allows the Chinese government to listen in on everyone's messages and calls because we want to do business in China. But the company that cares about people's privacy, we have to bring everything in-house. We're not doing it to be a monopoly. That's how I look at this.
They're letting China listen in on calls?
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Stop it.
What are we saying now?
You mean in China? You mean in China?
Right. You think anything goes on an Apple phone that the Chinese military is not listening to?
But are we getting into like conspiracy stuff now, or is this like an announcement somewhere? What are we talking about here?
That the Chinese government has access to every bit of tech and every tech company that does business in China. Is that news to you guys?
What leads you to believe that?
Everything I've read about their internal policies and agreements with the companies that do business in China.
So part of the deal is China. I mean, we are kind of getting into a conspiracy, though, are we not? What app specifically? What
Twitter,
OS?
Google, they have access. They can choose what to ban and what to not ban on Twitter.
But Twitter's not in China, so what's their incentive to
Google?
Man, I am so lost. I've not heard of this. You got to walk this back for us. China's listening to everything going on iPhones across America.
No, just in China. He's saying.
Sorry, I'm getting off the track.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that one key. I'm like,
China doesn't allow anyone to operate in China unless they have oversight.
Well, yeah, that's part of the deal. I completely.
Okay, so then Apple doesn't care about privacy. So they care about the privacy for 330 Americans, but they don't give a shit about the privacy for 1 billion Chinese.
Well, they want to be in China. Everyone knows. Tesla knows that. Apple knows. Everyone. Okay. Yeah, that's how they do it out there.
Sure, I get it. My point is they don't really care about privacy.
The same way we're different people at work versus with family. They're like different people in China. They're different companies out there.
Sure, but then Apple and Tim Cook, as a belief system, don't care about privacy. Let's be honest.
No, they're a company.
Don't give a shit.
They care about privacy for me, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah,
and they say care in quotes. Like it's a feature. Look, I'm going into this completely with my eyes open, but in the free market, I'm going to go for the company. Which, I like this pushback against Facebook. I mean, and look, it's the alcohol companies complaining about the tobacco companies. It's all fucking cancer, all this shit at the end of the day. They're like, oh, we've had a decade of smartphones and everyone being online, and now we're finally having a bit of pushback against one bit of weirdness that we don't like, which is ads and weird creepy tracking and election meddling and all that bullshit that comes from Facebook. But Apple are just as responsible for all of this shit. They're the people that put the device in our pockets. They're the people that trained us year after year on, okay, this year we have picture messaging, this year we had video messaging. They're the ones that have hit. So that, like, I'm going into it completely with my eyes open. Apple are just another tech company, and the problem with tech extends to Apple as well, and a bigger problem is going to come along when everyone is completely on Apple. And hey, I'm using an Android device right now just to see what it's like, but I do like it when companies go up against each other like this.
Me too. I love it.
And it's hilarious after Zuckerberg's been dragged in front of Congress so many times, and now
Facebook's getting exactly what they deserve, because they're really bad at playing the game. I love it. This to me is just the market. And hey, listen, I'm not. There's pluses and minuses. I'm not bashing Apple. If I was Apple, I would do exactly the same thing. Like Roman said, it's our train. If you want to ride on our train, we get to make the rules. If you don't like it, Facebook, go build your own train. Like, that to me is the market. That's why when all these companies cry foul and they cry, they cry to the government that the bigger company is, well, you do the same thing to the smaller companies. Like it's just the wilderness. It's the Serengeti all over again. Yeah, the lion gets to eat at the end of the day. Apple's the lion. Fuck off. Play by the rules and get off the train.
I've learned to accept that there's just no longer a lifelong loyalty to any one company. Like, they're going to come in and out of fashion, out of favor. Like, I'm sure people were team IBM back in the day and they kind of fell off. And then whatever the cool thing was, it's just, I know that someday I may have to switch. I don't know. Right now, Apple works for me. It does for a lot of people, but there's no longer like I'm a diehard, sports fan and this is my team for the rest of my life. It's just like, who's currently not fucking me as hard seems to be how people choose a company. Whose dick is currently not fully up my ass? Who
spat on it first? That's the one I'll stay with.
Yeah, is it enjoyable for me, or am I just getting, railed? Like, what's going on? That's kind of how I see it. I was looking at Final Cut the other day. I was about to buy it. Buying it this week is $500. And I'm like, if I buy this, I'm locked in for the next couple of years. So at any point, Apple's like, you know what? If you don't use this and this, then you don't get Final Cut, or the price goes up, or it becomes a monthly subscription. I'm kind of locked in, so I know what I'm getting into. I'm just waiting for the end at this point.
You're doing that all wrong, Roman. We'll talk off air about that.
All right, one thing, really quickly, just one thing that's either good or bad is either you have to decide, or you have to think about, is it good to have less tech companies, or more tech companies?
More.
I'm going to go with a little bit more. I mean, obviously no one wants a million of them, but we know people want options.
But if you want more, then this is not a move towards that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not crazy about Apple consolidating power, but I'm also willing to switch around and shop around. I realize right now it's actually, because complexity keeps going up, it's actually the hardest time to be dumb, because it would be hard if there were many companies, because then you'd have to shop around and choose. Right now it's easy because it's just, there's Apple, there's Google, that's it pretty much. But if it was to break up, I think it'd be difficult for a lot of people to keep up and really figure out what they have to use.
Is Google, the way I look at Apple, I think they want it all. They want all,
sure
they want everything. They want Facebook's ad revenue. And when it suits them, they're going to take Google's ad revenue too. Like, why are they allowing Google to be the default search engine on Safari. Now, the reason they do it right now is because Google pays them $15 billion a year to be the default search engine, which is basically a quarter of Apple's yearly profits. So they have this symbiotic parasitic relationship. Watching Google and Apple is like watching, it's like watching girls shake hands with each other when they're obviously in competition. Like, it's hilarious. Like,
this just became like a Mean Girls thing. It's pretty cool.
They're frenemies. Like they are. They're Google being kicked off of iOS would be a death sentence for Google.
I don't think you see yeah, I agree, but the public wouldn't stand for it. I think that people get way much more value from Google. I think the government
also did do something to make sure that you have a choice of search engine or browser on the iPhone. There's a lawsuit working their way through the courts right now in the U.S., the state of Texas versus Google, that calls into question the relationship between Google and Apple. And no one knows what's going to happen with it. But right now, you can choose another search engine, but Google is the default search engine on Safari right now.
Yeah.
I can go on Bing.com, right? Still.
You can. Oh, yeah.
And you can change it. Yeah. I use DuckDuckGo.
Yeah. Do you think eventually every state is going to have their own apps and search engines that are allowed, that come default with phones in that state?
Oh my God, that sounds like a disaster.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare. But I don't understand, why wouldn't Apple just buy DuckDuckGo and make that the default?
Yeah,
they are like privacy focused, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's getting much better as well.
That's what they're going to say. When they buy DuckDuckGo and they make it the original, and they make it their search engine, and the Justice Department, at the behest of Google, comes after them and says, well, you're a monopoly, you're basically restraining trade, they're going to fire back with, well, no, care about privacy, and the only way we can control it is for us to own everything. This is why they're framing the argument in the public this way.
Yeah. It's
going to be fascinating.
They're going to push back. I'm looking forward to the pushback against Google, because there's some stuff that Google does which I don't like either. You need to read The Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray. There's a chapter called Machine Learning Fairness. I can send it to you. And just, you search for stuff on Google Images. Google Image Search is just an image search. If I search for a red ball, you show me a red ball. Otherwise, image search doesn't work. But you search for certain things and it will not serve it up to you. It goes, no, this is what you should be looking for. And it's always around political correctness. Like, you can't search for like straight white couple, for example, on Google Images without it showing you like a gay black couple. Like, if you search for European art, then it's like black people in European art. You're like, hang on, this isn't what I'm searching for here. I was searching for a red ball. Don't show me a white ball, otherwise it doesn't work. So Google, and by the way, this only exists in North America, the United Kingdom, and Canada. If you search for the exact same search term in Australia, you get the actual correct stuff. So Google's got its own bullshit which needs, handling, but that's a conversation for another time. All right, so before we go, guys, what is your prediction for the short to medium term with this? Obviously, this is going to go on for a long time. What do you think Facebook does to fight back? Where do you see this going? Short to medium term. I know it's going to be a long, drawn-out process.
Roman?
I have no idea. I mean, Apple's going to be the hero for a little bit, but I think people are going to turn on them eventually. I don't know. I mean, they're not going to last. Like, it's just, they can't last. Like, no company is just the darling forever. It might take a few years, but they'll turn on them. Something else is going to come up. We'll see. Or the government steps in. I really don't know.
I think of Apple, I think about that line, and I think it's the second Batman when he's like, you die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain. That's Apple to me. Like, in the short term, Facebook's not going to do anything. They're going to bitch and moan, and they're going to complain, and they're going to try everything they can to keep people on their ecosystem, while at the same time trying to massage and mess with their profit their earnings every quarter. At the same time, keep small businesses happy, and let them know, hey, this is not going to really affect you. It's not going to really affect your tracking, which it is. But yeah, in the short term, Facebook's not going to be able to do anything. And I don't think the government's necessarily going to step in on the side of Facebook. Facebook doesn't have a friend in the world. And we can talk about why these companies chose to go political. That's a whole nother podcast. I don't feel like Facebook could turn to the government and ask for help. They don't have a friend in the world.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm interested in how, like Roman says, how they are going to punish users who don't allow all the tracking. That's going to be an interesting thing to see. They've got to pivot somehow. I mean, it depends. We also need to see. I'm not sure how many people are going to turn that stuff off. I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
95%.
Well, I certainly will. Will you be turning it off, Sean?
Yeah, I don't like, well, no, I don't want, I mean, no, I know, I don't care about the ads. So if they ask me, I don't care. Like, I don't care if they track me across the apps. Like, I don't really care. Like,
so you leave it on?
Yeah, I'll leave it on. It doesn't bother me.
Nice. Facebook just got one friend. You say they don't have a friend in the world.
I don't care.
Roman, so you're turning it off?
Yeah, just cause.
Yeah.
See what happens. What do I see? Maybe I'll see ads that are so not relevant, I'll hate it, and I'll turn it back on.
Right.
Because that's what Reddit is, because Reddit accounts... My problem with Reddit with the ads is it's random, and you get ads. Like, I get so many dick pill ads. Like, I don't understand why.
That's not random, Roman. That's directly targeted to you.
Well, it's anonymous accounts. If it was targeted, I'm fine with that. I'm open with that. But if I get these random ads about menopause, then yeah, maybe it will enhance my ad experience. I don't know. I'm also not really on Facebook anymore. And I try to scrub it as much as I could. So I might not even be the best person to ask this, but I'm not against targeted, useful ads. I'm actually not 100% against that. I think it does add some value if you're going to see ads either way.
That's probably going to be more likely. I mean, I suppose we're not the average user, but, you know, honestly, how much do us three use Facebook? I use it to administer some stuff for work, and I find gigs.
I really don't. I haven't used it. I haven't been active in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense for you.
So that's it.
My question for the average person, just really quickly, which is where you get into, and I'm going to be the angry guy with the mic, is
the angry guy. Get the angry guy.
Yeah, you need your own Instagram account.
Is how stupid the public is. So if you were to ask the public, hey, do you like all these tech guys that are anti-Facebook? How many of them work for Fortune 100 or 200 or 300 companies? Because if you're in tech and you work for anything outside of the Fortune 300 who does any marketing of any kind, and you're on Apple's side in this, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, your job's going to suffer.
I don't know another way to say it. If you own an equity share in a company that does any marketing, or you own stock in a company that does any marketing, and you're a fan of Apple in this fight, you're either too stupid to understand what's going on, or you're just patronizing to the community, and Facebook's the villain, and Apple, because Apple consolidating power is good for the Fortune 100. It's not good for anyone else at all.
I don't know. I take your point, but I don't think that this is the final blow in the war. I think this is just the market, be another force of the market, which is going to have a slight correction. I don't think this ends Facebook. I think that Facebook just has to slightly pivot and get better at what they do. They've had free reign for a long time with a lot of data when people didn't really understand it. Now people understand it.
Should I not buy the new M2 Mac? Am I going to get locked into a pile of shit? Or is the gravy train going to continue?
Roman, nothing we could say would be able to stop you from buying that new M2 Mac.
I was going to say, and Matthew was right years ago. Apple's here for a while. Let's be honest. I know we talk about companies come and go and all of that. Apple's here for a while.